Hello and welcome to What's Next. I'm your host Matt Brading and this week it's Film Week. Later on I'm going to be talking to writer and director Jon Pegg, and we're also going to be hearing from Alex Redmond, our head of documentary, about how to do the dolly zoom effect. But before that, Josh and Rob are here to talk about the latest film releases.
This month in film shows the conclusion of the Twilight saga. Bella is finally married to Edward, they have their baby, and now she's also a vampire. Life seems great until the Volturi, who see their new child as a threat, shows up to try and ruin things for the new family. The Cullens must band together and assemble vampires across the country to fight off the Volturi. Will the Cullens succeed in saving their daughter and their way of life? The Twilight Saga Breaking Dawn Part 2 is out on the 16th of November.
A remake of an old classic now with great expectations reaches the 30th of November. This is an adaptation of Charles Dickens' classic novel. The story follows the world of a young man who is given a large amount of money by a mysterious benefactor. Helena Bonham Carter plays the mad and peculiar Miss Havisham, who could be behind the money. It is out the 30th of November.
This Christmas season, DreamWorks Animation have used their talents to create a tale featuring a range of characters we all know and love. Jack Frost, the Easter Bunny, the Tooth Fairy, Sandman and Santa Claus team up to rid the world of the evil Pitch before their universe is wiped out forever. Rise of the Guardians is out on the 30th of November. Now we're going to do the news.
So we are now going to do the news. Hello guys.
Hi,
Hi.
Matt.
Right, as usual I'm going to start and choose a topic, but in a minute you'll get your own turn.
Okay.
Okay, so Wreck-It Ralph rules the US box office. Are studios damaging themselves by releasing films in different countries so far apart? What do you guys think about that? About, but film studios spread their releases out. So US films get released in the US first, UK films get released in the UK first. Do you think that's a bad thing or a good thing?
I'm not sure about that. I mean, I know other countries, like Israel, sometimes releases films before the US.
Yeah.
Which is weird.
Yeah,
you wouldn't have thought that, but
maybe the US think Israel's like a test bed for films.
Yeah.
Like they have real good taste in films. So
yeah, they do.
like, oh, we've heard the Israelis don't like it.
Just throw it out anyway.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah.
But it kind of upsets me when they release things, and I know they released The Perks of Being a Wallflower in September, like in the middle of September, and then over here it was like the middle of October.
Well, there was a thing where the Italian Job, like the new one that they did. Well, I watched it on Blu-ray, on a DVD that my dad had bought from me from the States before it was released in cinemas here.
Yeah.
Like that's ridiculous.
Yeah.
But I think the only real reason to do it all on the same day is if you want to make a real event of it.
Yeah.
Otherwise, there's not much point. Because I think didn't Avatar do the whole worldwide release on the same day?
Yeah,
I
they
think
did that.
I don't want to claim I don't know that at all. Anyway, right, time to throw the cards. Josh, are you ready for this? This is always the most difficult bit. That was totally your fault. My throw was
You always drop it.
I caught it last week. LucasArts was bought by Disney. Is this good or is it bad?
Well, I think I wasn't the only Star Wars fan in the world who thought this was terrible. But, on second thoughts, I think it could be good for the Star Wars franchise because there's a lot of people who thought that episodes 1, 2, and 3 they were terrible. So perhaps it's going to give Star Wars a bit of a facelift in episodes 7, 8, and 9.
Yeah. Maybe they could turn it into a musical.
They could do. Because like, for those who don't know, what Disney bought out LucasArts, who own Star Wars, and they're now planning to release a new one in 2014, I think, and then like one every 1 or 2 years after that. Yeah. Like, and really, it's a bit like either they could absolutely ruin it, which I think most people expect it to go that way, or they could make it amazing. Disney.
They'd have Selena Gomez in the Star Wars films. That would probably ruin it.
That would be amazing. No, but yeah.
Can't wait.
Anyway, we'll be seeing a lot of Star Wars merchandise from now on.
Mm-hmm.
Right, Rob, your turn to have a go.
Okay.
Oh, we've already done that one. You ready for this?
Yes.
That was my fault. That was. Go and get it. It's fine. Sorry, guys. That was terrible.
Okay, this is one that I know a lot about. Skyfall. It smashed the UK box office record.
Yes.
I think it took a hell of a lot of money and just in the opening weekend.
Yeah.
Isn't like 32 million or something?
Yeah, I think initially it was behind Harry Potter, like the last Harry Potter.
Yeah.
But it was pretty much only because Harry Potter was in 3D, so they charged a bit more for
Yeah.
it. I think James Bond had the most people actually attend it in the opening weekend, which is kind of like a huge deal.
Yeah.
Like in the climate where cinemas are all closing down because people aren't going to them, like that's.
Yeah.
I was one of those people who wanted to go and attend it in the opening weekend, but unfortunately I got caught up with other things just in the last minute. So, I mean, I just saw it like last Friday, and it is brilliant.
Is it still in theatres?
Yeah, I think it's going to be in there until people
It's
stop
not out
watching.
in America yet, though, is it? It's not.
No, it's out in America on the 9th, and today's the 7th for those of you that are watching it live. So that's on Friday, I think. Yeah, I think this Friday if you're in the States. States time.
You're watching it in the States.
But yeah, like we've had it for a while now, and I really like it.
Yeah. I haven't seen it yet. I want to go and see it.
Haven't you seen it more than once, Matt? Or
No, I've only seen it once. At the moment, I've only seen it once.
you want to see it again?
Rowan, who's one of our crew members, nearly tempted me to go and see it again, but I managed to resist. So I'm going to do one more real quickly.
Okay.
Okay, Paranormal Activity 4. We talked about this on the first film week, I think, or it might have been even the special week. So that was released, and we doubted it. You were on that show, I think, as well, weren't you, Josh?
I think I might have written that.
Oh,
show.
yeah, you wrote it, yeah, behind the scenes.
I can't remember it, but I think I might have written it.
But yeah, so it only obtained 10 million at the box office. Less than 10 million, in fact. It came third place on the date it was released. So, like, it was sort of seeing now that.
I think they're a bit tiring now. I saw the first one in the cinema with my friend, and she literally threw up halfway through the film, so I was left there on my own. And I think I'm scarred for life now. But watching the other ones, they're just not very scary at all.
I mean, I generally find with most films that after the second film, it always gets more and more tight for every film they bring out.
I think that's true in most cases. Sometimes you get it where the second one's terrible and the third one's amazing.
But the third one was better than the second. I've seen 1, 2, and 3. The first one was, I mean, that was only done on $15,000.
Okay.
And then the second one was in the,
Bit more money, was it?
was low millions.
Okay. Well, that's all we've got time for on the news this week. Thanks, guys, for joining me. So that's all for the news this week. And we are now going to have a tech review with Rob Young.
The GoPro Hero 3 design is smaller by a third from the Hero 2, giving you room to add the LCD Touch backpack for a live preview of your footage. Otherwise, the bomb-proof and waterproof casing remains the same. The slim new profile means that the Hero 3 doesn't feel heavy attached when attached to a bike or cycle helmet. It takes 2.7K and 1080p at 60 frames a second, up to 30 FPS. This makes it awesome and benefits from a new lens which previews massively improved exposure levels, especially when visible when outdoors in extremely bright light. MicroSD is now the format of slimmer Hero 3 and can store 64GB micro SD cards for hours of footage. The built-in mic can now capture a wider range of sounds. It's best for voices this time around too, rather than just the roar of the car engines. And finally, there's much needed HDMI socket. The Hero 3 comes with a remote as standard, though you can use the GoPro app on an iPhone, with Android coming soon. The bundled Wi-Fi remote mimics all the camera controls, start, stop, image, and the image modes. It's rugged and can be attached to a zip or a belt. At £360 upward, it's worth saving it for if you're into directing and producing short, high-speed films. GoPro Hero 3 is out now, and now Matt Braden will be talking to Jon Pegg.
Okay, so I'm now joined in the studio by Jon Pegg, who is a writer, director, actor, choreographer, cinematographer, you cinematographer? I kind of made that one up.
No.
Okay, choreographer and a former boxer all rolled into one. Hello, Jon.
Hello, Matt. How are you today?
So you recently directed a feature film called The Quiet One.
Yeah.
Do you want to tell us a little bit about the premise of that film?
Yeah, The Quiet One is a revenge thriller. It's based in Birmingham, my hometown. It's a low budget, psychological. It's realistic and gritty. It's about a guy who owns a pub, and he's the quiet one. He just wants to be left alone, left to what he's doing. He meets the locals get to know him. All of a sudden, the local bullies turn up. They try and bully him, and the film unfolds from there. I won't say much more.
Okay, that sounds good. Why don't you tell us a little bit about because you were a former boxer, right? So
Yeah.
how did you end up coming from boxing to directing? Because that's a bit of a shift.
When I retired from boxing, I was very bored and I wanted something to do where put you in the eye of people watching you, a bit like boxing. So I took some acting lessons, found it a lot of fun. While I was doing my acting lessons, I was in a theatre show, and I decided to write a short film as a project. We made the short film called An Hour of Sleep, featuring ex-boxing world champion Richie Woodall. Then I made a few more shorts, and then ambitiously, I decided I wanted to make a zero-budget feature.
Yeah.
And that's where The Quiet One came in.
Okay, that's cool. So quite a shift. How is it that you cope with making feature films on a low budget? Like, what are the tips that you'd have?
To be fair, you've got to plan.
Yeah.
You've got to plan everything, because if something goes wrong with no money, you can't fix it. So you plan everything. You make sure you've got lots of friends. You make sure you've got backups for everything, because something will go wrong and you can't just pay your way out of it. Yeah. So locations, actors, equipment, all these things we had go wrong on The Quiet One. We had an actress pull out in the morning because she'd obviously only read the script the night before and said she wasn't happy with the script. Obviously she'd had it for a month. We brought somebody in and they'd done a better job. We had one of the locations got set fire to. It was the same man. Blame him. We got round it because we had a backup ready. We had a van stolen with equipment in. Again, we had good friends who was ready to help us, and we got on with it. And we done all, we shot a feature film in 11 days with this kind of stuff going wrong. But you've got to be ready for anything, plan everything, and expect stuff to go wrong would be my biggest piece of advice.
Yeah. Well, it sounds like you were particularly unlucky with this shoot.
I don't know, I suppose stuff goes wrong everywhere, but when you got a low budget and it's your first one, it hits you kind of harder. But it was just stuff going wrong. I bet every film shoot has that kind of thing. My producer, Lou Morrell, and some of the stars in the film, George McCluskey, Gillian McGregor, they made the film easy to make because they were so good to work with. The guy from Your Place, Dan Delglin, he came along as assistant director. He ended up being production manager. And that film would not have got made on time without Dan. He was brilliant. Everyone hated him. But I think that you have to, as a production manager, you've got to be the bad guy. You've got to kick people's, and keep them going. And that's what Dan did. He was brilliant, and he shifted from assistant director to production manager extraordinaire, to be fair.
Yeah, so like with low budget, you have to sort of make up with what you don't have in
well,
money.
Well, when I was writing it, I wrote it in mind, what have I got access to?
Yeah.
I had access to my boxing gym. I had access to a pub that I was working at the time. I had access to a few other things, so they got wrote into the script, and sometimes they kind of led the script, sometimes they supported the script. Also, who did I have access to characters-wise? Some characters I would only have for 4 days because they come from London, so that affected the writing. Yeah. So with the low budget, you've got to be led by what you can do and what you can't do, and that's what I was. And in places, it improved it massively. In places, it made it difficult, but more challenging. It was, it was pretty cool.
Okay, well that sounds pretty interesting, and we're going to be talking a little bit later about, we're going to be looking at some photos of your film, and we're going to be talking about what happened. Just looking at pictures, and I think we might have your trailer.
You've got a trailer, if you can get it on. There is a trailer to be looked at.
Okay, so before that, we have Alex Redmond, who is our head of documentary for Staff TV, who's going to be teaching us how to do the dolly zoom effect.
The dolly zoom, otherwise known as the Hitchcock zoom or the vertigo effect, is a tool used in filmmaking. It creates a highly unsettling perspective shift that can be used to dramatic effect. It is usually used as an instrument to suggest a character undergoing a realization that causes him or her to reassess their situation. The effect was first developed by Imran Roberts, a Paramount cameraman. And here we're going to, I think we are here with Alex.
Yes.
We are here with Alex. And we will be having a demonstration.
Yep. So basically, first that you'd want to do, the camera has to either move forward or backwards. For example, if you were moving backwards, you'd be zooming forwards. And if you're moving forwards, you'd be zooming out.
Okay.
So for example, you'd actually need a dolly.
Okay.
But for this example, I'll just be using my hands. So I'd move the camera forward and I'd zoom out at the same time. But you'd also need your subject to stay still.
And how does that affect the background and with the subject as well? I mean, what moves?
It changes the perspective of the whole shot. For example, like you said in Hitchcock's Vertigo, Scotty, when he's holding onto the railings, when he's on top of the roof, it makes a really distortion, really big distortion.
It makes the audience feel kind of unsettled and
exactly.
like they're almost like they're feeling a bit sick.
Yeah, which is what Hitchcock wanted in the opening scene of his film.
Yeah, and I mean they've used it in other films like Jaws and
yeah, exactly.
What other films have they used it in? Many films.
Many films.
Many films.
But yeah, it's just unsettling because when in Jaws, for example, when a man shouts, "There's a shark," that's when it's used. So it's just very unsettling effect.
And I think we are going to have an example from that we shot earlier, our Blue Peter moment. And all right, that's I think all we have time for at the moment. And now I think we will be going back to we will be going to a documentary that we shot at Maverick Studios in London.
My name is Simone Hayward and I'm an executive producer for Maverick TV.
And what are the responsibilities that come with being the exec producer?
So the exec producer, you're the liaison between the client, and the client being the broadcaster, and production. A lot of this is about having really good relationships with broadcasters. So each of the execs in our team will have different relationships with different broadcasters.
He has gotten over so much in a year.
Epic.
So I'm now joined by Jon again, and we've got some pictures up from your film, some stills. So you're going to talk us through a little bit of the background behind each of the images.
No problem. This first one here, this wasn't actually even in the film. As you can see, it's a real beautiful shot. You've got the graffiti the one side, the frosty grass the other, and here's our hero, Lenny Parker, walking to the pub that he's took over. Like I say, the shot was too nice not to include, so I wrote a small piece and we got it in the film because it was too nice not to be included.
Yeah, I think that's one of the things you have to be looking out for when you're making films, is like, keep your eye open.
Independent, no money. If you see something good, shoot it. Like I say, that fire that I mentioned earlier, when I seen the umbrella go up outside the pub, the first thing I shouted was, grab the camera. Production value, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It would have been great, but they weren't quick enough off the draw to get it.
Okay.
This is some of our cast. This is the pub regulars. And basically, the guys in the corner here, they're the bad guys.
Yeah.
They've took over the pub. These are some of the most happy-go-lucky people you'll ever meet, and this is the effect that they've had on our pub. Look, they're not very happy, are they?
They're not a happy bunch.
No. This is the first meeting of our two main protagonists. This is Ray Gleason, the lead bad guy. This is Lenny Parker. And when the trouble first happens, and it's still at the stage where it can be sorted out, Lenny goes to Ray's club to sit down and sort it out.
Yeah.
It doesn't end up that way.
And you've got a nice contrast here as well between like the black suit of the bad guy and then like the white shirt of the good guy. It's almost like chess pieces.
It's a funny coincidence, but I first met the actor who plays Ray in a short about chess. So
Okay.
so called The Game. So that's how I cast him for this role. He was that good in the short that I cast him for the role of the chief bad guy.
Right. See, we've got some more pictures.
Right. Here we got. This is the members of the bad guys, the older bad guys gang, and they're sitting there being suitably chastised. We've got Dalton played by the very good Lawrence Saunders, J.D. McPherson in the middle playing Eddie, and at the end we've got a real fine former world champion boxer, Richie Woodall, and they're just being told how it's going to be in the, you know, what's going on with Lenny, and this is their meeting place.
So how many of your actors are sort of like professional actors? Because you mentioned that you've got ex-boxers in there. Is this their first time acting?
No, it wasn't Richie's first time of acting, but it's his first major role. He's trying to crack into the acting. Lawrence Saunders is a very well known. He just got nominated for the BBC's soap #1 bad guy in Doctors. So we kind of had a mix of first time people up to very talented professional actors who were willing to give their time for nothing because they like the strength of the scripts. Yeah. And when you're doing independent with literally no money, that's what you got to do. It's the casting is the chief part. You got to get people right and people who are prepared to give you everything, which, you know, these guys were, to be fair.
All right, see if we've got any more pictures.
Actually, my DOP, Tom Sherm. Basically, if you can see there, the interesting thing about this shot is nearly the whole film was done on the shoulder. Okay. We got that gritty, realistic, getting in people's faces, moving around with the people. And Tom basically, for the first 4 days, he was fine. We had a rig. And then when I mentioned about the van going missing, the rig went with it. So poor old Tom was literally carrying a 20-kilo camera for the next 7 days, basically.
Ouch.
Right, Dagwood here. Simon Burbage, super talented actor. He plays, and you must see him in every pub you go into. He plays the pub simpleton. Yeah. And he stole every scene he was in, to be honest. I've just been watching the first edit, and he's absolutely brilliant. And this is where two of the, how shall we say, local ladies of ill repute. Yeah. One of them decides to chat up Dagwood, and I'm not sure if that's acting or if the shock on his face is actually real. I don't know what was whispered in his ear at that point, so. Yeah. Our sound guy, Jeremy, and I can't quite see who that is, but that was one of our outside scenes, and as you can see, it was freezing. It was January, everywhere was frosty, and I think it was only me who wasn't feeling the cold. Everybody else was in a bad way.
Well, it's the realities of making a film in England, isn't it?
That's right. Again, Charles Nicklin. If you see most of the shots, when you get to watch the film, Charles, we used the atmosphere around him to create this horribleness. We played with the lighting a little bit. Some scenes he's almost demonic, and we played with the lighting, we played with played with his clothing to give that aura of not a nice guy.
Yeah, okay.
This is Gillian McGregor. Gillian come down from London, super talented actress, and she'll make it in a big way. You'll see in this film, she plays the love interest of Lenny and Pee-wee's mum, the little girl in it. And basically, she's the woman who gets the sympathy in the film. Lenny doesn't get the sympathy because you can tell he's a hardened character, he's the quiet one. She really is torn, and you know, she's the one that the audience are going to be saying, let's hope something nice happens for this woman.
All right, well, I think that's all the time we got through, but thanks for talking us through those pictures.
No problem.
You've got a sort of rough estimate of when the film's coming out?
We're on the second edit now. It's going to be one more edit because we're nearly there, and then there's the sound to do. The sound will take us a month and a half. I'm looking at January. I'm going to do a screening in Birmingham. I've already got a cinema sorted out, and we're going to have a lot of fun showing that independent film can be made cheaply, locally, and with just the people around us, basically.
All right, well, it sounds cool. Thanks for joining us. That's all we've got time for on this week's episode of What's Next. Thank you for watching, and we will see you next week.